Hey beauties! Tonight, as we wind down, treat our skin, and take a little time for ourselves, I want you to think about something. What if the things we can't explain, ghosts, curses, spirits, aren't just stories to scare kids? What if they could actually hurt someone? What if they could even kill? Today's story is something that happened to one of my subscribers, and the kind of thing that makes you question whether the line between life and death is really as clear as we think. So today's story starts with a grandmother who refused to say amen and ends with a death no one could explain. So grab your toner, light a candle, and settle in. Let's get into it. Music. We've talked a lot about curses, cursed villages, cursed objects, even people who seem cursed. But have you ever heard of a curse so heavy that it drives someone to take their own life? Or this. Did you know that in some countries taking one's life is seen not just as an end, but something that passes on? That it can cling to the family, affecting the people left behind. Today's story comes from one of my subscribers who goes by the nickname Avocado. And we don't know if this person is male or female. So I'll just say they. And this happened to their family. They said it's something they will never forget. And honestly, once you hear it, you will understand why. It's about their grandmother, a woman who refused to pray and in the end died by killing herself at 79 years old after something very strange started happening. So Avocado is from Manipur in northeast India. It's a region surrounded by Assam, Mizoram, and Nagaland. And on the other side, it borders Myanmar. This place is beautiful. Mountains, rivers, quiet villages surrounded by trees and rice fields. Avocado's village was small, so it was the kind of place where everyone knows everyone. If you weren't related by blood, you were still basically family there. And their grandmother was one of those people everyone knew. She was warm, friendly, and hardworking. A farmer her whole life. She loved being outdoors, talking to neighbors, just being part of the community. But in 2017, her health suddenly took a turn. She started getting sick, and there was no clear diagnosis, just constant weakness and pain. So her family took her to multiple hospitals, tried different medications, but nothing seemed to help. She got thinner, quieter, and eventually she couldn't move around without help. Even going to the bathroom became difficult for her. Before all this, she had lived on the edge of the village, near an old football field and a stadium. It was a quiet area with not many houses around. And after she got sick, the family brought her into the main part of the village to live with her daughter and son-in-law so she could be properly looked after. And then in June of 2018, something changed. She started acting strange. She started saying she didn't want to be left alone, ever. Not during the day, and definitely not at night. When the family asked her why, she said there was a black dog that kept coming to her. She couldn't explain what kind of dog it was. She just said that it was large, pitch black, and made her feel scared in a way she couldn't quite describe. She said it only came when no one else was around. The moment someone entered the room, it would vanish, and if she had company, it never showed up. And no one else in the house saw this dog. But she kept insisting. She said the dog would just stand there staring at her like it was waiting for her. And the way she described it, it wasn't just a regular stray. It felt like something else. It's not really a dog, she told him once. It's something wearing the shape of a dog. And at that point, even the people around her started to get uneasy. Not because they believed everything right away, but because her fear was real. But of course, no one ever saw this dog. Not once. There was no stray running around, no barking, nothing on the security cameras, no signs that a dog had even stepped foot in the house. So, at the time, the family didn't really believe her. They thought maybe it was stress or age or the medication. Nobody took it too seriously, at least not yet. But then something else started happening. Something even more unsettling. The grandma began talking. Not to anyone in the house, not to herself in the usual way, but to someone. They would catch her whispering when she thought no one was watching. Her lips would move slowly, like she was answering questions or having conversations. And this wasn't just once or twice. And even though she was never left completely alone because the family was trying to honor her request, there were always short gaps. Someone would be doing chores nearby, folding clothes, chopping vegetables in the same room. But even in those brief, quiet moments when no one was looking right at her, she would start murmuring to the air. And those whispers, they didn't sound like prayer. That's when the family really started paying attention. Something wasn't right, and some of them began to wonder, was she being haunted? Was this something spiritual going on? Or was it just her mind? So they decided to take her to a prayer center. It was a place where people in the community often went when they felt spiritually attacked or overwhelmed. But the moment they told her about it, she completely lost control. She screamed, she fought, she kicked, clawed at anyone who tried to hold her. And this wasn't panic. It was rage. She adamantly refused to go. She refused to pray. And she even refused to say the word amen. And then December came. Usually for Christians, it's the happiest time of year. There were weddings, festivals, and Christmas celebrations all across the village. The nearby church was celebrating its Diamond Jubilee. 60 years since Christianity arrived in the area. It was a big deal. Famous pastors, bishops, religious leaders, all of them came for the service. The village was buzzing. So the family thought, this is it. With so many people of faith gathered in one place, this could be the chance to finally help her. Maybe she would feel safer there, or someone might be able to intervene. But even before they invited her, she somehow knew someone must have mentioned it casually. Or maybe she just sensed it because the moment she caught wind of it, she shut down again. She said she didn't want to go. Then she said she couldn't go. Eventually, she agreed to attend the service, but only if she could sit way at the back. She insisted that if she sat anywhere else, she would ruin the whole thing for everyone. And the way she said it, it wasn't embarrassment or shyness. It was fear. Like she was genuinely afraid something inside her would act out in front of everyone. And when the family looked at her closely that day, her eyes weren't the same. It was like she was there, but not fully. That wasn't the grandmother they knew. Something had changed. Or maybe something else had taken her place. Then came December 22nd. It was just a few days before Christmas, and the house was full of people. But it wasn't because of the holiday. One of Avocado's cousins was getting married. The ceremony was set for the 23rd, and everyone was rushing around preparing food, decorating, ironing clothes, wedding chaos. And on the day of the wedding, around 3:00 p.m., Avocado and the groom decided to sneak away for a quick lunch break. His place was just upstairs, right above where Grandma had been staying, and they were only gone for a few minutes. And then it happened around 4:00 p.m. Not long after Avocado and the cousin finished their meal, they heard someone yelling downstairs, "Help! Grandma! Grandma is missing." At first, no one even knew how to react. It didn't make any sense because she couldn't walk on her own, not even a few steps. Someone always had to carry her, or she would be in a wheelchair. There was no way she could just get up and disappear. So, everyone dropped what they were doing and rushed out of the house. The whole wedding prep came to a stop. Grandpa immediately ran to the old house. Maybe she had somehow made her way back there. But then he remembered he had the only key. And when he got there, sure enough, the door was still locked. Still, he opened it and stepped inside, calling her name. And that is when the others, Avocado, the cousin, and the cousin's father, heard it. A scream. It wasn't just a scream. It was something else. It was their grandma's voice, but it didn't even sound human. They ran toward the sound, and what they saw when they got there is something they said they will never be able to unsee. The front door was still locked, but one of the windows had been shattered from the outside. The iron bars, those thick security bars, had been bent, and some of them were completely torn off, like something unbelievably strong had forced its way through. And that's probably how she got in. And inside, they found her hanging from the ceiling. And there was no chair nearby, no stool, nothing she could have used to climb. And she couldn't even stand up straight on her own. She had serious spinal issues. She couldn't even lift her arms high without assistance, let alone tie something above her head. And the ceiling was high, way too high for someone in her condition. Avocado's uncle had to grab a chair just to reach the rope and cut her down. And as her body hit the ground, they heard something. A sound came from her throat. A deep, low burp that didn't sound human at all. It was wet and guttural, like something trying to leave her body even after death. And when they finally got a closer look, They noticed her hair was tangled with burrs and beggar sticks. If you don't know what that is, it's a sticky little weed that only grows deep in the jungle that somehow she had wandered into the forest alone. No one knows how long she was in there. But what's terrifying is that part of the forest, people don't even go there during the day. It's isolated. It's thick. Too wild for someone in our state. The word spread through the village, and the whole family was in shock. Nobody could believe it. This woman who had spent her life caring for others, cooking for her grandkids, giving advice, smiling through everything was gone. And the official cause, self-inflicted death. But in their culture, it's not that simple. Because where they come from, this kind of death isn't just a tragedy. It's a curse. A curse that if not handled properly can pass down. It clings to the family generation after generation unless it's broken. So they had to follow old customs. There was no coffin. No priest was called. No formal prayers were said. All of her belongings were burned. She was buried in the clothes she dyed in directly into the ground. Just a hole in the earth and silence all around. They believed that if they didn't do this, the curse would take hold of someone else in the family next. And honestly, even after doing everything the traditional way, some people still felt it never really left. And before the burial, there was one final step the family had to take. It's not something done in public and definitely not something they talk about openly. The closest relatives of the deceased have to gather around the body and curse it out loud. They shout out the spirit, demanding it never return, telling it to leave and never touch the family again. It's harsh. It's emotional, but it's part of the ritual because if they don't do it, they believe the curse could stay or worse, move on to someone else. So they did it quietly, privately, and they didn't tell the neighbors, didn't ask for help. And that part of their culture isn't shared with the rest of the village. It's something only their family knows. Something passed down. And that same night, something happened, something they still don't like talking about. A man who used to live near Grandma's house came back to the village from Impel. And this man had been away for a while, had no contact with anyone, so he had no idea about Grandma's death. No clue what had happened in the last few days. Around 10 p.m., he was walking home when he saw someone up ahead on the road. There was a woman standing alone, crying softly. So he got curious. He got closer, and when he saw her face, his heart nearly stopped. It was Grandma. She was standing there crying to herself. So he walked up and asked, "Hey, are you okay?" But she didn't answer. She just lifted her head slowly, looked at him, and then walked right past. No emotion, no words, just walked by like she didn't even see him. And of course, he wasn't scared at first. He was just confused. He turned to watch her walk away, but when he looked down the road, she was suddenly gone. And that's when he felt something. This cold ripple ran through his body like goosebumps. That deep instinctive feeling that something wasn't right. He kept walking, now a little unsettled. When he got home, which was just above Grandma's house, he noticed something strange. The light on her compound was on, and there were people down there just standing around. And he could see their silhouettes and the dim yellow light, but it was silent. Completely silent. Not a single sound. And that silence felt heavy, like it was pressing against his ears. Something was terribly wrong. He felt it in his chest. So he started walking down to check just a few steps. And right then the light went out. Click. Pitch black. And he froze. He reached into his pocket trying to find something to light his way. But before he could, he heard something. He heard a scratching sound. Not footsteps, not voices, just scratching. Something with claws. But it wasn't coming from the ground. It was coming from the walls. And he stood still, listening. Then came a low voice, drawn out and aching. It kept repeating one word. Aya. It's a word people there used to cry out in pain, grief, regret. It sounded like someone was mourning, but not like any living person. Now he knew this wasn't normal. So he rushed to the door, tried to pull it open, but the door, it wouldn't budge. It felt like it was sealed from the inside. And then he suddenly felt something. You know that feeling when you know you're not alone. The air behind him shifted like someone was standing right there, almost touching him, like breathing to him, watching. He didn't dare turn around. But then came the sound again. This time not just one voice, but many. Whispers, laughter, crying. All at once, he spun around, but no one was there. The road was empty. His yard was empty. The compound below still dark. And that was it. He ran. He didn't look back. The next morning, that man, the one who saw her on the road, was back to his usual routine. He greeted a few neighbors, just saying hi like he always did. And that's when someone casually mentioned it. Oh, such a tragedy about Grandma passing away. He just stood there silent. His mind froze. It took a moment to sink in. She had died days ago. But that woman he saw the night before crying on the road, that wasn't her. Not anymore. Now, it all kind of made sense. But at the same time, it didn't, because whatever he saw, it looked like her, moved like her. But deep down, he knew it wasn't her at all. Weeks passed. The village started moving on. People got back to their lives. And then one day, it rained heavily. It was one of those storms that makes everyone stay indoors, where the whole sky turns dark in the afternoon and the streets filled with mud. The next morning, after the rain finally stopped, something strange happened. The man was walking to his garden when he noticed something odd near Grandma's grave. The rain had caused a small landslide. Nothing major, just enough to shift some soil. But something was sticking out. At first, he thought it was a log or a branch. The grave was near a wooden area, so it wasn't too strange. But when he got closer, he stopped cold. It was a leg. Grandma's leg. Half of her body had surfaced up to the knee, poking out from the earth like the ground itself was pushing her out. The man didn't scream. He didn't run. He just stood there in shock. And then not long after that, he got sick. Extremely sick. He lost the ability to walk, needed help to move, to eat, or even go to the bathroom. And this happened fast, and eventually he passed away. People couldn't stop talking about this, of course. Some called it a coincidence, a tragedy, but not Avocado's family, because they remembered something. A long time ago, before Grandma got married, she had a niece, and that niece died the same way, by killing herself. Back then, it was Grandma who found her. Grandma who cut the rope. Grandma who held her body and cried. And as she hugged her, blood from her niece's mouth stained her clothes. And the elders told her, "Burn those clothes. That's what you're supposed to do." But she didn't. She just laughed it off. Said it was just superstition. "It's all in your head," she told them. But after everything, Avocado's family started to wonder. Maybe those old beliefs weren't stories to scare children. Maybe the rituals, the rules, the warnings, they existed for a reason, to keep something from following you. And to this day, they still don't know what exactly happened to Grandma, or that man, or why the grave opened like that, or whether what he saw was even real. But they all agree on one thing. They hope they never have to go through anything like that again. And even when Avocado was writing the story to me, Avocado said they could feel the same chills they felt back then. Like the memories were alive again, like something was still close by. So, what do you think really happened? Was it a curse? Something passed down through generations? Was it trauma? Guilt? Something unspoken from the past finally catching up? Or was it simply a mind unraveling in the final stages of life? We like to believe there is a clear line between the living and the dead. But what if that line isn't as solid as we think? What if under certain conditions it blurs? And what makes it even scarier is this. Whatever it was, it didn't just haunt someone, it hurt them, and it led to death. And that is the part that still stays with me. That something we still can't explain might be able to reach into the real world and destroy life. What would you have done if you were in Avocado's place? And have you ever witnessed something that made you feel question what's real and what isn't? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, that is a wrap for today, and I hope you guys sleep tight. Well, sorry if you can. Bye, guys.